Vegetarian Society and the Griffith Organised Debating Society will be providing you with a debate on the following motion, that we should become vegetarian. Naturally, the Vegetarian Society will be speaking for the motion and the Debating Society will be speaking against it. The rules are 7 minute speeches with POIs. For those of you who don't know, POIs are when the opposition gets to ask you a question during your speech. I'll be the timekeeper and I'll be giving the debaters 1 clap at 1 at 6, 2 at 7 minutes, and at 8 I'll push them off the stage. With that, I would like to welcome the first speaker of the debate, speaking for the Griffith University Vegetarian Society, Liam.
We at the Griffith University Vegetarian Society want to see the world become a better place. We pursue this goal by supporting the vegetarian lifestyle. Why does being vegetarian make a positive difference in the world? Because there is a problem with the way we treat animals. By eating meat, we torture and kill billions of animals each year. By eating meat, we ravage and pollute the planet. By eating meat, we disregard our own health and well-being. We should become vegetarian for animals, for the planet, and for ourselves. Today I will explain why eating meat is harmful to animals and to the environment. I will then explain why we are responsible for these harms and have an obligation to change our lifestyles to correct these wrongs. Our second speaker, James, will explain why eating meat is harmful to humans physically, psychologically, and sociologically. He will then explain why being vegetarian will make for a better society. Now on to my first point. The meat industry is incredibly harmful. There are 2 broad types of harms I will speak about: animal cruelty and environmental destruction. Okay, thanks. Alright, so on to animal cruelty. Australia is probably one of the worst countries in the world when it comes to certain aspects of animal cruelty. Talking about animals in specifics. Okay, so we have the issue where it is actually legal in Australia to do halal killings, where you cut the neck off the animal, let it through, often for hours at end. With pigs, Australia is particularly worse.
How will not eating meat actually solve these issues?
Well, obviously, if we're not eating meat, then we're not going to be killing them, are we? Alright, so Australia is one of the worst when it comes to pigs. For example, when piglets are born, we clip their tails, we clip their teeth. With the male piglets, we castrate them. All fun things we all do without anesthesia as well. So obviously they're all crying. It's not a good thing. When it comes to their mums, the sows, we actually imprison them in these small little stalls where they can't move around. They're forced to live in their field. They get ulcers, all that stuff. You know, very, very cruel conditions. All this leads to, with our pigs population, mental problems and physical problems. When it comes to chickens, we have the issue of battery cages, where they can't even, they're forced to even have the excrements of the chickens above them drip onto them. We also have big chicken barns, which are called breeder sheds. where chickens are kept in tight quarters, they can't move around freely, they find it hard to get to food, water, all that stuff. And obviously then you have all the physical issues that come about with not being able to move around really, sores and This also extends to non-land-based animals, such as fish. If you have a thing, when you catch a fish, it's usually through a fish hook through the mouth.
On that, well, I appreciate the long-winded historical cry about animals. At the point at which you're only refusing to eat meat, you are doing nothing about any other cruelties, such as, I don't know, creating outfit, shearing sheep, taking animal hides. These things will still exist under your model regardless.
Well, I understand your concern for animals. I'd like to just point out that as a vegetarian society, we are actually pro-vegan. We don't want to see these things occur either. However, we're also realistic with our assumptions and know that it's baby steps. So as a first step, we need to become vegetarian. And later on, we want to do a more vegan adaptation. Now, with fish, as they're getting dragged up to the surface with this hook through their mouth, the pressure change actually causes their eyes to rupture. And this is intensely painful for an animal that certain species have been proven to have the same intelligence as dogs. Now, moving on to the environmental concerns that all this causes. I just want to get you guys to have a think about this. For each kilo of beef that is produced, it actually takes 10 kilos of grain. That 10 kilos of grain means more water and more land is required for agriculture. That means more forest clearing. That means more land degradation. Not only this, but the animal farming of animals actually creates more pollution. So we have more methane in the air because of these animals. We have stock waste going into the waterways, and we have more soil erosion from more crops being produced and the animal feeding patterns themselves on the grass. So why are we responsible? Well, this situation all came about because of factory farming. Factory farming came about because of the Great Depression and the demand of cheap meat that Great Depression actually created. So essentially it's human greed and business greed. Factory farming is extremely business friendly. Meat is cheaper, everyone's happy, obviously, except for the animals. This is not a natural situation, however. We only began hunting for meat when we gained the tools to do so. Therefore, we cannot compare ourselves to those hunters like lions out in nature that actually do this for an evolutionary reason. It is a created problem. As such, we're the only ones that can actually do something about this. We created it, it's our responsibility. And simply because animals, except for the exceptions of parrots, can't talk for themselves, we're the only ones that can do something about it.
With that, I would like to thank Liam for his speech and call upon the first speaker from the negative team, and Karen.
Ladies and gentlemen, they can take our lives, but they cannot take our bacon. Today, the opposition are presented to you, please, that blames a complex political well, who doesn't like bacon? So before I get into my substantive, I want to address some major flaws in the opposition space. Firstly, there is this issue about how eating meat is like has a direct relationship with these environmental impacts. And firstly, we are happy to admit that there is a problem. However, we don't believe that the way to solve the problem is to boycott eating meat. We believe that the way to address the problem is to address sort of like mismanagement issues of this industry and to imagine how we deal with this industry, make it more environmentally friendly and such. We believe that that is how to solve these environmental problems, not to boycott meat altogether. We do not actually believe that eating meat is an issue. We believe that it's the human mismanagement of this industry that is the problem. We also would like to address the opposition haven't actually discussed how they're going to enforce this non-eating meat. They haven't discussed a model, a clear sort of stance on whether people should just not eat meat as a personal choice, or that they're going to actually ban meat and put restrictions on producing meat. Secondly, so we believe that the environmental effects that the opposition have identified will still occur if even without people eating meat. We believe that the deforestation is still going to happen. It's just deforestation is going to occur due to wanting to plant vegetables and all the other stuff.
Okay. If we recognise that actually animals take up so much more land per animal than ever plants will, do you not recognise that we at least lower that incidence?
Well, what I'd like to address as well is that by your model, there's still going to be animals running around because you know how much you like animals and stuff. So where are all these animals going to go? Are you going to cull them? Or are you going to keep them as pets? No, thank you. I'm not really quite sure where these animals are going to go and where the methane and the effects of those animals are going to go. Are they just going to let them roam wild around the environment, or are we actually going to put them to use and eat them? So yeah, and then also we talked about animal cruelty. And today we say that we're part of the food chain. We are animals as well, and animals can be cruel to other animals. And we discussed earlier about how animals kill each other and how animals kill us as well. So and would eat us if they had the opportunity to do so. So we would actually acknowledge that this animal cruelty. We just think that this is part of the food chain, and that's the real issue here. So this brings me to my first point of substantive, which involves around this issue about how it is important to eat meat, to be part of your balanced diet, and to be a healthy individual. So meat is a normal and perfectly okay dietary requirement.
On that point,
meat contains vital nutrients that one kind of get from vegetables in the same amounts. Oh, yay. I just grabbed. Thank you, Ivan. So, it is close to my mouth now. Yes. Okay, so, where was I? Oh yeah, you can get certain dietary requirements from consuming vegetables, and you'd have to eat considerably more vegetables to get this amount of iron and iron and protein. So my first point is iron is vital to normal function, and the lack of iron, lack of protein is also serious health impacts. And if you were, I'm sure the opposition are going to discuss about how you need to get these vitamins and nutrients from vitamins and other sources, but to that we'd like to address that it's extremely costly to do so, and it's actually unnatural to decide that you're going to take these vitamins instead of eating what you need to be eating as a being. My next point, which is that the introduction to meat into our diets basically will make us human. Studies show that eating meat is linked with brain development and humans. So we discovered fire, then we cooked meat on the fire.
studies actually tell us that we need to have a lot of protein for development, but that we don't necessarily need it from meat. Can you tell us why meat is so important to that?
Well, meat is so important because, you know, it's like healthy for you, there's iron in meat, and you get protein from it. You can't get the same amount of protein from meat as you do from like vegetables. You'd have to eat like a shitload of vegetables to get the same sort of like amount of these nutrients from meat. I'm allowed to swear, right? Okay, so this brings me back to like my case, which is, you know, we're naturally omnivorous for humans to eat meat is to not eat meat is absurd. We don't like to draw like a comparison between Bruce the shark not eating Nemo. It is a natural, it is stupid, and like humans need to eat meat. So this brings me to like my second sort of point of perspective. No, actually it doesn't. It brings me to like the moral issue. Sorry, it brings me to my second substantive, which is that it's the individual's choice with meat. So regardless of whether it's healthy for you, or whether like it creates all these environmental impacts, we believe that the individual has the right to eat meat and not be, is that a second bell? Okay, thank you. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say that fish are food, not friends, and the opposition are going to have to pry the bacon from our cold dead hands.
And I would like to thank Karen for her speech and call upon the second speaker for the Vegetarian Society, James.
Madam Speaker, I'm going to talk very, very loudly to try and get over the guy down there who is clearly on a bit of a rant. So I'm going to give just a little bit of my own. Madam Speaker, when Harrod told you, right, that being happy depended on your ability to eat bacon, we say absolutely false, Madam Speaker. What we say firstly is that humans never consider what the consequences of their actions are. We don't think it's very likely that when you're ordering the beef nachos over at Cafe Internet, that you're sitting there thinking, if I buy this product, I will be consuming meat that has like been very massively harmed. Yep, cool, I'm happy with that, I'm going to go forward with the order. We don't think people ever actually make that decision. But we think that even if they did, they would be very sick individuals, Madam Speaker, and we're very happy to stand by that. What we say, Madam Speaker, is there is absolutely no intrinsic value to a human, much more than there is to an animal. You heard it from Liam, you're going to hear it from me. What we say, Madam Speaker, is they wanted to tell us that shearing animals was also a harm and that that was like a bad thing that we didn't prevent on our side of the house. The first thing we say is, to the extent of shearing, we're happy for that because it doesn't actually harm the animal, and in fact, in some ways, gathering wool does help. We think that's something that's been mutually beneficial for those animals. But the second thing is, to the extent that you have practices about like actually harming the animals, we are perfectly okay on our side of the house to ban those too, right? We're very happy to see those sorts of practices stopped. What they don't want you to realise is that this debate is about meat, full stop. We say that meat is the most important part of this debate, right? Because it involves actually killing the animals. We think that is particularly harmful. No thank you, carrots. So, let's get down to a bit of business. 2 points. Firstly, what are the harms to humans of actually consuming meat, and why is it bad, and why do you not need the protein value that comes out of meat, Harrod? Secondly, what are the practical effects on the world when you actually ban meat, when you actually stop eating meat and you lower that market? First point. We talk about the health things. The first thing we say is that we already eat a hell of a lot of protein. In fact, Madam Speaker, in this society, what we say is that we are over-protein, right? We cause a lot of health complications from having that protein in the first place, and we're already getting too much food. What we say, Madam Speaker, is that naturally, I'll take you in a second, Harrod, because you're going to love this. We say that if you're eating like appropriate things to replace that meat, you're getting far more protein anyway than you ever were. Go.
But isn't it the individual's choice, like how much protein they consume?
Yeah, sure, it's the individual's choice, but we think that the best choice for them to make is the one where they go off meat. We think there's a lot of harms associated with meat that if they thought it through, or if they were aware of that decision, that they would take. We don't think that like eating meat to get protein is a valid reason, and we're telling you why now. The first thing we say is that as far as iron deficiency goes, you already get iron through a range of products that you're eating. We say, Madam Speaker, that at the point in which you're eating nuts, you're eating almonds, you're eating legumes, those sorts of things, that already contains much more iron than you ever need. The idea that Sam Neill, looking oh so great in his 60s, telling us we were born to eat meat, we think that's... He did do it, don't lie, sit down. All right, we say that that is not something that we have to buy into. No, thank you. What we also say is that they're missing the point, Madam Speaker. If you want to look at protein, there are alternative ways to do it, and that meat's not true. Now, Harrod wants to bring in the idea that it's human, like, because we're human, that means that we should eat meat. We don't buy that either. We think that is morally superior. We think that re-entrenches the idea that humans are better than animals, and that is something that we are not happy to stand for.
On that.
No, thank you. What we say, Madam Speaker, is that we recognise that over-consuming protein is damaging. Why? Firstly, science. I said it, Madam Speaker, and I'm very happy to say science tells us that overconsumption of meat is bad. Let's look at why. The first thing we say is that overconsuming meat is something that happens and gives you... I'll get you in a moment, Paris. It's something that increases the risk of cancer. And before they want to scoff at that, maybe they should consider the source. Because I tell you, Mr. Speaker, that Griffith's own Dr. Sean Somerset from the School of Public Health puts his name to a study that says just that. Paris.
At the point at which you're putting up a big long-winded argument how overconsumption of meat is bad, wouldn't the obvious solution be not get rid of meat altogether, but just eat a little less meat and we're all happy?
Well, Madam Speaker, rather, if you... I'm not that confused. Madam Speaker, we think that if you want to eat a lot less meat, we're very happy with that. In fact, we're happy to reduce it to zero, right? We don't think that there is that necessity. The second thing, though, that we say, Madam Speaker, is that the way we consume meat is necessarily dangerous. Why? We talk about processing, right? The process that it goes from the cow being raised on the cattle farm to being into your stomach or being put on a meat lover's pizza at Cafe Rossa is something that is definitely dangerous to your health. We say there's things like increased salmonella, Madam Speaker, that you don't necessarily know about and necessarily affects your health. We point out the increased risk of cancer that I raised before. We point out the increased risk of mercury. And if you think mercury is not bad, Madam Speaker, I dare you to drop a temperature tester and see what actually happens there. What we say, Madam Speaker, is that the second part of this comes to the mental aspect, right? At the point in which society says that you are okay to harm animals for your own good, we think that is particularly detrimental, right? Let's think about what we do to animals. You heard it from Liam first, right? We exsanguinate animals. And if you don't know what that is, it's the idea that you hang the cow upside down, you slit its neck, and you let the blood drain out. Why? Because that blood is necessarily making it taste worse. We do awfully harmful things to those animals just to get the better taste, and we think that re-entrenches a very bad thing in society. We think that it's not morally okay to say that it's acceptable to kill animals just because it might taste better on a pizza or in the nachos, Madam Speaker. Don't worry, I'll hit cheese bar later. But what we also say, Madam Speaker, is it sends a bad message to society about the mental aspects, right? What we tell you is that once you accept that it is okay to harm animals for your own benefit, it then becomes a matter of degrees. We say that there are individuals in society who decide they want to hurt animals, right? Because they think that it's morally acceptable. Those are the sorts of things that we challenge when we say that you can't ban meat, that you can't eat meat. Right? We further say that that protects against violence to the individuals because violence against humans is predicated on the idea that most of those people are already doing it to animals. We think that that is a particularly harmful thing. At the end of this debate, what you will know is this, that if you cease eating meat, that if we lower the consumption of meat, all of those harms to you individually go away, but you lower a lot of society's problems as well. We are very happy to propose.
I would like to thank James for his speech and call upon the second speaker from the Griffith Organised Debating Society, Paris. eating meat, we think it's a very unlikely circumstance that it would even function as a really rather you didn't. And they have not in any way said to us how they're going to subsidize the larger costs of salads, of eating all these alternative food products, which takes a larger consumption in agriculture to even have the equivalent ability to have that protein needs of the average human being. But secondly, even if we do ban it, this does not actually solve inherent issues. On their side of the house, they want to attribute every freaking environmental problem on our planet to consumption of meat. Now they may give you, and on this point I have 2 points of rebuttal. Firstly, is the characterization of the severe environmental harms that are put to you. On this side of the house, we have no issues whatsoever with already introduced regulations for free-range eggs. On this side of the house, we recognise that the status quo, Australia, under the status quo, is actually quite good in regulations for animals, and legalistically is a lot better than other countries. So first off, their characterisation is largely false. At the point at which farm animals have the best legal protection in Australia than any other animal, also than other countries, we feel it's inherently ironic then to take away all these protections. Lastly, when we look at these figures they want to put up about, the percentage of grain to kilo of meat, firstly, the official statistic put forward by America, who actually decided this, was 5 kilos of grain to 1 kilo of meat. But secondly, the statistic is inherently false as it does not take into account the largely emerging range, particularly in Australia, of organic farms. The problem with the statistic, it only takes into account one minority type of farming, and that is with artificial grains. It does not take into account things like free-range beef, free-range chickens, free-range pigs. Hey, we love free-range pigs on this side of the house.
On that point.
And the issue with this is, it's inherent mischaracterization. But lastly, on the point of methane, which they want to put up, kangaroos also produce a very large amount of methane. Do you want to kill off kangaroos too because it's harming the environment? You know what? On our side of the house, we're very happy to eat them because this is good for the environment. It's a great form of protein, and we don't have to up agriculture by 5 times to produce random different vegetables that I don't even like, just to produce protein output as you would to that 1 kilo of meat. So in terms of consumption, deforestation, production, you still have that under the status quo with agriculture.